Hi everyone, I'm Daisy Rocha and this is what's happening in Brazil. We'll start by updating you on the latest news from the country. Thursday, a political terrorist attack shook Brazil's capital, Brasília, near the Supreme Court. The author, Francisco Vanderlei Luiz, and a right-wing council candidate in 2020, died during a self-inflicted accident. He had previously announced the action on social media, stating that it was to defuse the bomb that is in the communist's house. The following day, police searched his rented house where they found explosive devices and his driver's license. An investigation is on to know if he acted alone, his real motivations, and if he was mentally unstable. A change in the 6-day work week with 1 day off has been trending on Brazilian social media since last week. A proposal to modify this norm at the federal chamber gathered enough signatures to be filed, thanks to the support of left-wing groups, advocates, and influencers who pushed for a reduced number of workdays, aiming for a better work-life balance. The idea is to reduce from 40 to 36 weekly hours, following 2 days off. However, the road to passing the bill is long since the signatures are just the first step of the process. Business people, right-wing parties, and the conservative segment of society are already against it, claiming economic impacts. Online betting in Brazil is growing in epidemic proportions and is being compared to having a game platform in every pocket. Until recently, almost every form of gambling was illegal in the country, but the liberation of online gambling is creating a social problem. Monthly revenues from online betting in the country exceeded $3 billion. This gambling is making many people, especially from the poorest sections of society, hugely indebted, leaving the government worried and prone to clamp down on it. This week, dozens of feminists protested at the Chamber of Deputies after the Justice Commission scheduled a new discussion on the proposal to ban legal abortion. They tried to break into the session to follow the debates, but were prevented from doing so. The federal constitution currently guarantees the right to abortion up to 12 weeks of pregnancy. Proponents of the amendment, supported by the right-wing and conservative evangelical groups, wants to ban abortion entirely in Brazil. In today's story of the week, we will show you how women from different organizations in the country held a national meeting of the Feminist Uprising. The aim is to mobilize society and authorities for effective anti-violence policies.
1,350 women were victims of femicide in Brazil in 2020 alone. The pandemic context and the high rate of violence motivated the creation, back in 2021, of the National Campaign Against Femicide, the killing of lesbian women and trans femicide. This year, women from different feminist organizations across Brazil held the first national meeting of the group. Since its inception, the campaign has tried to call society and public authorities to implement effective policies to curb violence.
This insertion into the country's political agenda was an achievement of the Feminist Uprising, not of one person only. A group of women from all over the country are talking about this and remembering the women who are killed for being women. And that's what we emphasize all the time, that women die for being women because we live in a reality in which women are hated for being women. The biggest gain we had in these 3.5 years of the campaign has been that we have spread discussions on the issue. Femicide is now on the public agenda, and the problem of femicide is in the media in all its different forms of manifestation.
The diversity of women positively affected by the campaign over the years was also seen at the national meeting, which lasted 2 days. Women from 19 Brazilian states took part in the event.
Eu sou uma mulher transfeminista.
I'm a trans feminist woman. Transfeminism doesn't exclude anything. It adds, includes, and protects lives, and we fight for the right to life.
Muitas mulheres indígenas são silenciadas.
Many indigenous women are silenced. Even the state silences them. So, in this union, when we strengthen each other, we don't keep silent. We get up with the courage, we resist, and we get stronger. So that's what having the group means. Support and strengthening.
The absence of Roma and Sinti women in the statistics on violence is what motivated Sônia Reis to take part in the activities in the Federal District.
A importância de estar dentro do
The importance of being in the feminist uprising since its inception is because within our sexist culture, there are no statistics on domestic violence against us, Roma and Sinti women. I believe that no Brazilian state collects these numbers, not least because we don't leave the encampments, and when our bodies arrive at hospitals or we get to police stations, we don't have the opportunity to say that we are Roma or Sinti women.
Carol Santos is a survivor. She became paraplegic after an attempted femicide and is now a member of the inclusive feminist movement in the state of Rio Grande do Sul.
Eu levei 13 anos da minha vida.
I spent 13 years of my life blaming myself for this whole process. Nobody told me I was a victim. Nobody told me that I wasn't to blame for everything that had happened to me.
To Feminist Uprising, focusing on preventive actions is the way to curb cases of violence.
Nós sabemos qual é a forma de trabalhar com as mulheres.
We know how to work with women through meetings, discussions, and we know how to work with men too. We need to talk to men because they are the ones who kill and beat. We need to show that we can live together in better relationships.
How can climate justice promote sustainable development, tackle inequalities, and enhance resilience? For Kamudam Wapchana, indigenous storyteller, activist, and educator, climate justice means building an inclusive society. Watch our exclusive interview with him on Culture Talk.
Seria para nós, os povos indígenas.
What would climate justice be for indigenous peoples? Giving Brazil back to the indigenous peoples would be climate justice for me. Our territories are the last frontiers, so to speak, of our planet. Where there are indigenous communities, there is still resistance. The world knows we are not against other cultures, but we want them to respect our point of view. That's the big difference. While the world is degrading its natural resources, indigenous peoples are not. They know how to live with the environment, rivers and forests, and not deplete their wealth.
Uma coisa que a humanidade não consegue aprender.
There is one thing humanity can't learn. It is to be aware. The things happening now are not the fault of indigenous peoples, but we are the first to suffer its consequences. There are already many studies on the degradation and warming of the planet, and we are not here to accept it anymore. The indigenous peoples have been saying this for thousands of years. We are seeing it in our skin. The warming, the changes in animals, rivers, and droughts. So we have all the possible evidence to monitor this. But what's the problem with people? What's the problem with humanity that can't see this? It is the worldview that values money and having instead of being. That's the big problem. We don't need to consume the earth anymore. We need to give it back to it. We need to regenerate the planet.
Adiar o fim do mundo realmente
Postponing the end of the world means taking a stand as a society. While governors, federal deputies, and senators make laws, for example, the cut-off-point law, it is death for indigenous peoples. Still, it is not just for indigenous peoples. It is death for society. It is threatening the territories that indigenous peoples are defending, but then it is not just the territory. It's the lives of people themselves. When people understand that indigenous peoples contribute a lot to society by bringing environmental awareness and a perspective of life in the future to the children of those who live in the city, then we realize that our presence within society brothers, those who want to devastate, destroy, and get rich at any cost. Society needs to get more involved. We will only feel it when it hits us. And that has already happened. The awakening is now.
Did you like the show? So hit the like button and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to receive notifications. We will see you next week.